Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Blue Table Talk. This is Doug Smith, and today I'm going to bring you another professional who's been in our field for quite some time and has a lot to share with us. His name is Doug Smith, and he's kind of unique because Doug is out of Michigan. It's Michigan, correct, Doug?
That's correct.
Doug is out of Michigan, but he's a private investigator in Costa Rica. So he's the first guy I've spoken to who is in a different country doing this work. And man, he has some very unique stories. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. Doug, can you introduce yourself to the viewers and also tell us what you do?
Well, obviously my name's Doug Smith. I run a PI agency and security agency that's based, filed in Costa Rica, but we work literally all of Central America. We do a lot of background checks for companies, due diligence on real estate property, kidnap recoveries in Costa Rica. Then we do personal protection work for the entertainment industry. I guess that would encompass television, movie, music industry, people that either have homes in Costa Rica or perform concerts in Costa Rica.
And these are celebrities from all over the world, not just the United States, but people from all over the world who come to Costa Rica to perform and own property and live and things like that?
They could be, but I want to say primarily because how we get them, these are people from the United States or bands, except one. All of them are from the United States, except, well, rock and roll bands, it's hard to tell where they're from. You could have one or two people from the United States, a guy from Canada, and a guy from Great Britain, you know. But I want to say primarily United States bands, one guy from Europe, you know, when they're on tour.
Well, let's explore that for a minute, because I know, I've done protective service work, and I know overseas in Turkey, I had a little problem because we weren't supposed to be armed there. Now in the United States, we can carry our firearm, we can do our protection business and all that. How does it work for you over in Costa Rica as far as protective service goes?
Well, it's kind of twofold. Number one, I got my license to carry, I mean, way back before they changed the law. And then subsequently I got grandfathered. Now, if you're a foreigner, you're not getting a license to carry. But the staff that works for me are all OIHOTA agents, work for me part-time. Now, for the uninformed, OIJ is theoretically the Central America equivalent of the FBI. So they automatically have a license and a permit to carry.
Now, what if somebody comes in, one of these entertainers starts coming to you, over to Costa Rica, and they bring their own bodyguards or their own protective service? How does that work with those guys?
Well, I try to warn them ahead of time when they come, because I get it through a third party, okay, through a referral from the U.S. Embassy. I try to warn them that you can bring your people, but number one, they can't be armed, okay? Number two, if they get caught working in Costa Rica, they can be thrown out of Costa Rica immediately. Because in Costa Rica, a foreigner can't work in Costa Rica until you own the company, your SA, which if you see SA in Central America, it means corporation, okay? And then even after you have your residency in Costa Rica or Central America, as a rule, you can't work because they don't want you taking jobs from local people. So, you know, if they want to take the risk of having their staff, because when you land, you've got this little paper visa that, you know, it's got, I don't know, 10 questions on it. And if you cross off the box that says, I'm here to work, they just stop you right there and you can't get, you know, out of the airport. So you have to cross the box that says, I'm here on vacation.
Now, even if that guy is coming to do a performance, they know he's coming to do a performance. He has his band members and everybody else to travel with him, and his bodyguards. They can't.
The band members are fine because that's under the contract for performance.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. But if you start bringing illegal, and I'm going to name drop here, if you bring in your illegal bodyguards like Tom Brady did a long time ago for his wedding with Giselle, it did then, and it can create a big, big problem if they get caught.
So let's say Tom Brady had an incident and one of those bodyguards had to put their hands on somebody, and it's a Costa Rican citizen or something like. What would have happened to that? What might have happened to that bodyguard?
In this particular incident, okay, the bodyguard got out of the country, or there might have been two, but one for sure that I remember, got out of the country literally 1 or 2 hours ahead of his arrest warrant.
Wow. Okay.
But that bodyguard in question, we can't justify it. My agency got a piece of it after it happened. That bodyguard shot out the back window of an AP reporter's like Chevy Blazer or something when he was trying to get a photograph of the wedding.
Wow.
I don't know what the justification was, you know, and I'd be lying because no one's, and he can't come back to Costa Rica because I'm 99.9% positive there's still a warrant out for his arrest.
Doug, I don't even know how you explain shooting out somebody's windows because they're trying to take a photo. And what if he would have hit that person or killed that person, you know, because he's taking a photo, you know?
Well, I talked to you, and I'll cut this short. What I thought was kind of funny, you know, if we can laugh about this, is after this ding-dong bodyguard did this stupid thing that he did, the locals were, needless to say, raising heck about it, okay? And this guy, to deflect and get away with it, and thought he'd run a line of baloney on him, says, well, I'm a police officer, and I can do that. But the guy couldn't speak Spanish. So the locals were like, you're not a cop. You're not even speaking Spanish to us. You know?
Right.
So all the lights came on and all the buzzers went off. And they were so far away, way up north on the beach where Giselle's family has this monster estate where the wedding was at. It took a few hours to get the real police up there to figure out what had happened. Okay, but when they started raising all the heck over this, the guy was like, "Whoops!" You know, when I'm only imagining what's going on in his head. Someone told him, "You better get the hell out of Costa Rica."
Yep. Or you be here forever.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, when I and my team got up there, we're hearing this story, and I know we shouldn't laugh, and I shouldn't be laughing now, but you go into a foreign country and you try to tell locals that you're a cop and you can't even speak their language. You know, the proverbial dumbass attack, if you will.
You know, a lot of people.
I apologize for my language if that was.
Oh, no. And a lot of people come on and they talk about the importance of having a second language if you do our kind of work. This kind of justifies, you know, having a second language, you know, and one that we can use in the places we work in. So those sound interesting. What I'm going to do, I want to explore some of the challenges, because now you have unique challenges being a PI over there, especially being a gringo PI, somebody from out of the country. But before I do that, I want to take us back for a minute. How did you get started in this field, and then how did you end up in Costa Rica doing it?
Initially, I was an in-house investigator I come at this differently than most of my brethren do.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I was an in-house investigator for a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And Doug, where was that? Was that in Michigan in the States, or was that over there?
Yeah, Michigan, and before that, a law firm in Wyoming.
Okay.
Okay. So I come at it as an investigator from the defense angle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As an advocate or as an investigator from the personal injury angle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If somebody got arrested on a criminal charge, well, that's an oxymoron. Of course, it'd be criminal.
Mm-hmm.
It was my job to find out either that he didn't do it,
mm-hmm.
or the police out there are not going to like this, to show that the police or the undercover agent that was responsible for arresting these people had little to no credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So our attorneys could throw that into the mess, you know, and if nothing else, a jury, you know, the old baffle them with bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And I want to pause there for a second, because people don't understand it. People say, how can you be a defense attorney, or how you can be a private investigator working for the defense? There's nothing wrong with that. Our job, like you said, is to find out, did the guy do it, or find out if there's a technicality. If somebody made a mistake, a person has rights. And we will use that, you know, for our defense. If I find I have a police officer that had all kind of problems and charges in the past, I'm going to use that to discredit him. So you shouldn't feel bad about your job being for the defense to find fault in an investigation or something that went wrong. Do you agree with that, Doug?
I don't feel bad, and never have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The attorneys, by law, as you well know,
mm-hmm.
must do the best job they possibly can, because they're an advocate for their client.
Absolutely.
Okay? Has nothing to do with guilt or innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's by law. And with me as their investigator, by law, I have to represent the client as best I can.
Yes.
I don't care, okay, and didn't care if he flat or she, if they flat out did it.
Mm-hmm.
That was not my job.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have a fiduciary responsibility
mm-hmm.
towards our client
mm-hmm.
to do the best possible job we can within the parameters of the law.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, we can't manufacture stuff to,
mm-hmm.
you know, a small example. Okay. Wyoming drug case. They brought in an undercover agent to go out and buy a bunch of drugs from some members of a motorcycle gang in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He went all over, and this agent did a nice job.
Mm-hmm.
He got a bunch of our clients to selling drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They went out and did the typical roundup. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The very next morning, our law firm's telephone started ringing off the hook because our law firm was the number one law firm when it came to criminal defense work. And within hours, it's a small community. Within hours, we found out who this guy was that was buying all these drugs. Okay. Well, I started doing my thing, interviewing people, blah, 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 about this guy that was buying. We wanted to find out what all he was doing, why he was there, other than buying drugs from every motorcycle member, gang member. I don't know how to say it without offending anybody.
Yes.
What else he was doing. Well, I'll be a son of a buck. He was going through women like pop-up targets. I mean, he was sleeping with every chick he possibly could. There's nothing wrong with that, except the fact that he was married.
Okay.
Okay. So here his wife was in XYZ in the United States. But meanwhile, this guy is up there just tagging chicks one after the other. And I'm taking these interviews with these girls that he was sleeping with, and they're flipping on it. You know, that SOB, blah, 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 blah. And then when I laid the fact on him that I found out that this guy was married the whole time, then these chicks went batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this started coming together, and then I put it together the whole day. I'd go back to my attorneys. This is what I'm finding out about this narc. Da 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 da. Well, the prosecutor came back after a few weeks and said, "Wait a minute. We don't want to have to explain to a jury that we're trusting the word of this guy, but this guy's credibility is very much in question."
Yes.
So we were able to get all these plethora of felony counts. All of them got lowered to misdemeanors and pled out.
That's our job. You know,
that's our job.
Doug, I was
I'm not saying that they didn't sell these drugs. I'm not saying that it was illegal for them to sell these drugs. My job was to find a chink in the armor. And the referrals after this were unbelievable. Because all of these bikers told everybody that, they were facing time. And the most any of them actually got was, I think the most time they actually had to serve was maybe 90 days in a local county jail.
So they were happy.
And they busted 20-something of them. And I want to say 80% of them never saw the inside of a cell.
See, that's great. That's the thing. That's what we do. And I was an undercover drug agent, and I could not sleep with anybody, and I had to be even careful with, they want you to use the drugs with them and all that. They taught me how to simulate drug use because, I didn't want to be on a stand and then somebody say, "Hey, he was doing coke with me." He was smoking more weed than I was smoking. And by the way, he has a girlfriend that's a part of our gang. That sure wouldn't help my credibility and my ethics.
That's absolutely right. But I mean, I never did and never have felt guilty about it. And I look at it like this. Whoever decided to bring this guy in, okay, they should have either, number one, told him, keep your unit in your pants, as if they would have had to have. Or they should have done their due diligence on the guy to make sure that he was snowy white, because they would have had to have known that this would have possibly, not possibly, it opened them up for an out.
Yep.
So whoever made the decision to bring this character in, they should have at least sat down for 20 minutes and said, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Or they should have done enough of a background check on him that would have shown his proclivity for extramarital affairs.
Yep. So,
you know,
so Doug, we were talking about your journey, and Wyoming, Michigan, and we still trying to get to how you ended up in Costa Rica.
Well, then I got some cases right after 9/11 down in Colombia. Okay, everyone got paranoid and contacted the law firm and said, we need, because everybody knew about our law firm. They had been in the newspaper, they had been da-da-da-da-da, and they kind of knew about me through our law firm. They said, we need a guy, you know, your guy down here in Colombia. And the law firm says, okay, and they farmed me out. I don't know what our law firm charged these clients in Colombia, okay, because I only know what they paid me. And it's none of my business, never asked and never will. Worked in Colombia for quite some time, had something quite catastrophic happen in Colombia, and you know, and got an invite to move to Costa Rica, and I took advantage of it.
Okay. So it sounds like to me. Well, first, how many years have you been in the industry now? You mind saying?
All together between the United States and everything, real close to 30 years.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this. It sounds like there's some unique challenges being an American with a PI firm in Costa Rica. So what are some differences that the viewers would see being home doing it or wherever they are versus working in a country, a third world country?
Well, the first thing that you need to get a grasp of is if something weird is happening or you're working a case in Costa Rica or Central America, you have zero backup, okay? At no time, even if you're being shot at, will the local police help you.
Wow.
Okay? And in the United States, I understand some police don't like PIs or you know, but they will at least, if it's catastrophic, come to help you. In Costa Rica, Central America, that's not going to happen.
Wow. Okay. So
you have to keep in mind that. The other thing that you have to keep in mind, at any given time, you may be doing an investigation. That person might be related or have a contact or be related to a local chief of police or a local cop. And if that's what you walked into by accident, you're in the middle of something that's unfathomable.
And like you said, it could be catastrophic to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could get run out of Dodge. You could get threatened. Paperwork can come up missing. You have to really be careful. And the names are hard to figure this out ahead of time because anyone that you run into is going to have 3 or 4, possibly 5 names.
Okay.
So trying to chase down a family tree and make sure you're not stepping on toes and stuff like this can be a genuine nightmare.
It sounds like a scary proposition to even be doing this. How have you managed to be successful over there with your PI firm doing this and working in this kind of situation without losing your license or your life, you know?
I don't know if it's, well, our cases have been successful, okay? But I don't want to say it's been successful as far as not ruffling feathers or possibly getting into some trouble.
Okay.
Okay. I think you just kind of have to suck it up, if you will, and say, yeah, here it comes.
Okay.
You know, our cases have been like our kidnapping cases. I'm really proud of because we run 100% on our kidnapping cases.
And you mean 100% as recovering, getting that person back? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm very, very, I could not be happier over that. But the lack of cooperation with the local authorities is probably the biggest thing that you have to come to grips with. Many years ago, by accident, strictly by accident, I saw that the Mexican cartel had moved into a place between Escazú and Santana. And it was just an unbelievable accident. Okay? I wasn't looking for him, working a completely different case, but I could see problems coming. So I was trying to be Joe Nice Guy Gringo and contacted the chief of police in Escazú. And I told him, this is what's going on. This is their description. This is exactly where they're at. He didn't even say thanks, blew me off, and lo and behold, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years later, a big splash. Mexican cartel gets caught in Escazú. You know, and I'm like, what the bejeebers is going on?
Yes.
You know, so that's probably the biggest thing that, and I tell people, you want to move to Costa Rica and retire and kick back and enjoy the beaches and the girls and the zip lining and the white watering, far out. But don't move to Costa Rica and plan on going to work.
Okay.
You know, unless you can work strictly online. Okay, if you do online investigations and don't do field work for companies in the United States and stuff like that, that would be perfect. You know, but field work or trying to start your own agency, you're opening yourself up for problems that you can't possibly foresee.
Yeah, man, I tell you, be doing this in Maryland and thinking about what you have to go through, I couldn't even fathom it. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you this, Doug. You know, all these PI shows on TV, your story would be a PI show I want to watch. You know, an American PI in Costa Rica would be an interesting story to watch.
Well, it's funny. I have had buku people, okay, say, Doug, will you please write a book? Will you? Because some other stuff I haven't even touched base with or mentioned would make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. When I say hundreds, I'll go into thousands of people that have said, Doug, you got to write a book. Doug, you got to tell these stories. Doug, you know, but through getting stabbed, shot, dog attacks and stuff like this, I've got a right hand that I've only got full movement in of about 3 fingers. Okay? So trying to type is almost impossible for me. Okay? And painful. Unbelievable painful when I have to do more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. Second of all, when I do type out something or write something, I do it like I talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have and don't use perfect English.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can, and I'm not a trained monkey. I know how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't throughout the years, And when I tried to do some stuff, people on Facebook that are critical, they're like, "Didn't you ever take an English class?" Or, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, "Oh, fine. It's not worth it."
And Doug, I don't even try to be, I have several degrees, right? But when I'm on Facebook, I look at that as more relaxed. And sometimes I don't even use punctuation, and I don't try to be precise. And people beat me up about that too. I'm like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if you're so anal retentive
Mm-hmm.
and you're going past the point that's being made,
Mm-hmm.
but then you bitch at someone. Sorry about the bad language. I
No
apologize to
problem.
you and the people listening to this. About missing a comma or something, then, oh God, life is too short.
You focus on the wrong thing.
Yeah, get the gist of what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
And then get on with it.
So, Doug, do you ever like fear for your safety over there, or do you ever say, you know what, this is not worth it, I'm just going to give up?
Well, I constantly, anywhere in Central America, walk around with my head on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not paranoia. A perfect, for instance, example, about 2 months ago, I went to a little pulperia. It's like a neighborhood grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm polite to everybody I meet, And I walked up to the little window there and had to get something insignificant. And I knew the lady there for quite some time, so I paid her a compliment like I always do. I said, "Buenos dias, mi amor, ¿cómo estás?" Good morning, my love, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
And never dated the gal, not interested in dating the gal. I mean, she's a little gordita, but she's sweet and she's wonderful, okay? And she always gets a smile out of me, paying her that compliment. And without knowing it, without having anything to do with anything, some guy that was standing 2 people behind me heard me refer to this lady as my love, and I didn't know it, that he had a crush on her.
Oh, jeez.
And he broke a bottle over the back of my head.
Are you kidding me?
Wow. Didn't see it coming. The blood just blew all over the place. I got up, and I mean, almost, you've seen the cartoon characters where the little twinkles and stars go off.
Yes, yes. And I've had it happen to me. Yes.
And I get up, and I'm trying to get up, and all I could think of was, Doug, you got to take whatever happened to you to the ground. You can't take another one of these, and the blood's running over my head and into my eyes, and I just scarfed him up and body planted him into a local picnic table. And I was like, Doug, no matter how many times, I couldn't see, okay? All I was thinking is, Doug, no matter what, don't you let go of this son of a buck until you can see and get your breath and get these stars out of your eyes.
Yes, man.
And out of nowhere, these nice ladies came out of nowhere with baseball bats.
Wow.
And they're getting me off the top of him, and they started tuning him up with baseball bats.
Wow, you lucky it wasn't you, but they must have known about this guy.
Well, they knew I was local. They knew. I mean, I kick around a soccer ball with the local kids. When I've got a couple extra shekels, if I'm buying something and some little nipper is there, I get them some penny candy.
Well, see, you know what? You make a good point there, Doug. You got to be part of your community, and people have to know who you are, or it could have gone a different way.
Yeah, I was really, really offended about Christmas time by some other brother PIs. What I did wasn't what I'm telling you. I'm not doing this for an award, but just before Christmas, I walked out of my apartment, went to the same little pulperia, and I noticed one or two of these guys on the street that looked like they hadn't had food since Christ rode a tricycle, and some scruffy clothes on. You see it all the time. But I was like, oh, wait a minute, Doug. And I told the guys, I said, stay here for a minute. And they did. And I came back to my apartment and did up a batch of pancakes and some local chorizo and put it on a paper plate and took it out to them. And I did this for a couple days. Well, and I'm happy I'm able to do it. It's not much. God knows it might cost me, for an egg and pancakes, I might be out 20 cents. Okay. Well, I thought it'd be nice to get some other brother PIs, to do the same thing, because everybody's always saying, and they've always got these posts up, I'll pray for you, I'll do this. Baloney.
Yes.
Get off your dead ass and actually do something.
Yes.
So I went on a Facebook Private Investigator page, and I posted up what I was doing and suggested that my brother PIs do the same thing. Quit walking by a veteran that hasn't had food and doesn't have a place to live. Let them sleep in your backyard and pitch a tent for them. Okay. Let them use your garden hose to take a shower. Get them a meal. Do something.
Yes.
I'm not saying give them money, because some of them have got some problems. But drag their ass across the street to McDonald's and buy them a $2 breakfast. And I put that on a Private Investigator page. Jeez, Manita, I got my ass jumped, and they removed my post.
Are you kidding?
I'm serious as a heart attack.
Wow.
And this was just before effing Christmas.
Wow.
Okay? Because it wasn't directly Private Investigator related.
Oh, yeah, and I've had something like that happen. But, Doug, it's funny, because we sure talk a good game, but when it comes time to do action, boy, people's attitudes change fast.
You're right. And they were right. I wasn't talking about a case.
Well, here's the thing, Doug. But Doug, I don't think that the groups we belong to me, is more about fellowship. It's not necessarily about only talking about PI cases. It's about us fellowshipping with people who are everybody don't understand what PIs do. So it's about fellowshipping with each other. Like you and I, we talk about stuff, and it doesn't have to be PI stuff, but I can relate to you because you understand my world. And that's how I think the groups should be.
You may not understand this, and other people listening to this may not understand this, but I'm proud of this. I happen to be a Mason.
Me too.
Okay. And I'm proud to be a Mason. Okay. And I take my oaths, and I'm not going to say what they are, because you know what, I can't say what they are. But I take all that seriously. Okay. And I believe I have a responsibility to help others when I can. Okay. And I do. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not, like 90% of the big shot PIs in the United States that have got their agencies and, driving around in luxury cars and looking for the next reality show.
Magnum PI.
But if I've got a couple extra shekels, okay, if I can, lay a sandwich on them, buy them a juice, something like this on the street, I'm not going to just walk by a vet and say, oh, that's too bad, and post their picture up on Facebook and say somebody should do something about that. And do something.
Yep. I agree.
I'm sick and tired of seeing these hypocrites on Facebook, pray for them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice, but did you give this guy a meal?
Yeah.
Not. I am, and then I'm like, I'm so sick of.
Yeah.
Never mind. I went off on
so Doug, but you know what? Let me tell you a funny story about that. And I agree with you, but let me tell you a funny story real quick. Now I'm gonna get back on track with these questions. But I was a federal agent, and I used to go to this little sandwich shop all the time across the street. I was a Treasury agent, so it was across the street from the Treasury Department. I'm in there one time. I used to see this lady all the time on the street, homeless lady. So one time I'm in there, and I'm buying my lunch, and she's buying hers, and she's searching through like she doesn't have enough money to buy it. And so I tell the woman, I got this, and I try to pay the woman. She took the money, threw it at me, and she said the N-word, I don't need your effing money. Man, and then she smacked me in the face. Now here's the thing. I was a younger guy. I was kind of upset because here I am. I got several black belts in karate. I had a gun and a badge on. And I was more upset because the woman had to be 60 or 70 years old, and she was able to steal on me and get me in the face. It didn't hurt. Actually, I started laughing, even though I was mad as hell. But I just wanted to tell that story because I was trying to help somebody out, and then I went back and kind of understood because that might have been an embarrassment to her, or she might have felt self-sufficient, or whatever it may be. So I was thinking, man, did I make a mistake? Should I have not done that? Should I not have offered? I didn't even ask her, can I do it? I just told the lady, hey, I'll take care of this one. 'Cause I knew the lady lived on the street.
On the 24th, Christmas Eve, I had to go grocery shopping for myself. And I was doing my thing, and stuff like that. And I got back to the meat counter and, and da-da-da. And I was like, Doug, God darn it. I stopped and I went up and got another cart. Okay. And I got 6 bags of rice, 6 bags of beans, and 6 chicken thighs, and 6 of something else. And continued my shopping. I got up front, did my thing, pulled up the cart, asked for 6 bags, and then I got over, and this happened to be in their equivalent of Walmart down here, Maxi. And I've gotten to know all the security guards for obvious reasons. We crack jokes. One of them's got a cow glued to his motorcycle, and I call him Bakamoto. Okay, and I'm doing these things, and these guys could see what I was doing. And the one guy says, "Why the 6 bags?" And I said, "Hey, I'm going to make a little road trip and give these away." And I came home, put all these bags in my backpack, and I went out and drove the streets on my motorcycle. Okay, I happened to already have known one gal that's got like 3 kids and whatever. I went over to her house, dropped this bag. No sex, no love, no alternative motive, no anything like that. Knocked on her porton and came out and gave her this bag, and she opened it up, and I mean, and then went off, and then there's like this blind guy that sells water at one of the speed bumps. pulled over, gave that to him. His people told him what it was. And I went around and got rid of these 6 bags of food. Okay. And in each bag, Derek, I think I might have had 50 cents in total in each bag. Okay. So it didn't amount to anything to me.
But it made a big difference in their lives.
Oh my God, these people, a bag of rice and beans and a chicken thigh, they can feed their family for 2 days.
Yep.
You know, but it really, really hurt me when these brother PIs, and then they blocked me on their PI page.
Wow.
On top of it. And I just kind of sat back and shook my head.
Yeah.
The administrator of the page says, well, I'm going to block you for that.
Wow.
And I was so pissed off at that point. I just typed in and said, thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
because what can you do?
If that's what it's come down to, you know, then I'm secure with myself knowing that I've done something good. But if a bunch of ding-dong PIs want to, and I could use a lot other adjectives that I felt and still do feel about him, can't get a grip on saying, hey, it's Christmas time. Maybe we all ought to walk out our front door and walk 100 meters each way and see if there's somebody laying underneath a tree that could use an old pair of shoes that I don't have that I'm not using in my house or something.
Well, Doug, I agree with you.
Okay, I'll get off my statement.
Well, I'm going to bring you back to, they're probably sitting there thinking, why are these guys? Let's talk about some PI stuff. So I'm going to bring you back to some PI stuff, even though I'm with you on that. So you've been around for quite some time now. You say about 30 years. What's a common myth about our profession that you want to debunk? That people think from television, from whatever, but things you hear as you've been around that you want to say, you know what, that's not true.
Well, the first one is we all carry guns all the time. Okay? We get into high-speed pursuit with people. We like to run across the parking lot and slide across the hood of our cars.
Yes.
Okay.
We think we have these exciting jobs when 6 hours out of an 8-hour day is probably going to be sitting on surveillance watching somebody.
Oh yeah, I mean, sitting around drinking Coca-Cola down here and eating an empanada. You know, I tell people, you know, that are not in the related field that ask me, you know, questions all the time. I tell them everything that you see on every private investigation TV show is bullshit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So take Magnum and shove him up your ear. Okay. The only thing that I think, the only TV show that I think even closely relates to what we do is the old TV show Maddox.
Yep, that was one of my favorite.
Okay, because he was more of a thinking PI. Okay, and maybe to a certain extent, other than the high-speed chases, is Rockford. Okay, but Hollywood and these people and stuff like that, and I understand it's ratings. Okay, but like on the kidnapping case, I sent you a link to one of them that I did. That was a pretty slick move, what I did on that ding dong, in order to get that kid back to his mother. Okay, I'm fortunate because one attorney that I worked for a long time was a Mensa member. Okay,
And by the way, for folks who don't know, Mensa is the group for folks who have high intelligence, high IQs. It's a high IQ society. All right, go ahead, Doug.
You have to be a registered or test certified genius.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you're smart. Okay, Daddy once told me, but he doesn't have common sense to pour piss out of a boot with the instructions written on the heel. Mm-hmm. Okay. But this attorney did help me think, if you will. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't know how to think, but how to be a critical thinker, mm-hmm. if you will. Yep. So I'm truly blessed by, working for him in the past. Mm-hmm. I used to do a thing that I always keep in my head when I'm working a case. Ask the question, how far can a dog run into the woods? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I always, when I'm in a complicated or thing where I got to outthink somebody, mm-hmm. I always have that go off in my head. Mm-hmm. And I sat back and say, okay, Doug, let's break this down in parts. Mm-hmm. But, I understand producers. They want to see shootouts. They want to see people jump across the hood of their car and scratch up the paint job. Mm-hmm. And, high-speed chases, and things like that. Now, it's not like I don't think they're exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't watch any of them.
Well, Doug, who was the guy? I can't remember. He was a lieutenant on the police department. He used to always like, hey, break it down to me. He acted like he was stupid. He was a lieutenant, always wore a trench coat. And, wasn't a big guy, wasn't an action guy, but he always solved the case. I don't think it was Columbo.
No, you mean the detective that you used to tell the lady, the facts, ma'am, only the facts?
No, because that was the FBI guy, but this was a guy.
No, that was Joe Friday.
Yeah, that was Joe Friday. But there was a guy who used to come on and he's like, look, you got to break it down to me like I'm a kindergartner type of thing, And I always liked this show because he wasn't an action-packed guy, but he got to the bottom. And I used this as a federal agent. Like, you know what? Explain it to me like I don't understand it. Like I'm a kindergartner.
The old KISS thing.
Yep. Keep it simple.
You know what that is.
Yep.
And that's what I try to do in all of my stuff. Mm-hmm. Break it down in parts. And KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
So Doug, you've been around a long time. So how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of your profession?
Well, I do read other guys' cases that get popped up. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid to ask questions in private messages mm-hmm. from a buddy of mine, Brandon, in Florida, that runs my opinion, the only credible private investigation school in the United States. Mm-hmm.
Which one is that, Doug? Which one is that? What school?
I'd have to look it up. His first name is Brandon, I think, and I may not pronounce the second name, Perron.
Okay, I'll look that up. Okay.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
He's a heck of a nice guy. He's intelligent. He runs an accredited school, mm-hmm. and I see a bunch of these pop up on boards and stuff. And understand, this is only my opinion. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the others are bad. Mm-hmm. So, none of you people listening to this, you don't need to come back and say, yes. I can already hear, I want to, mm-hmm. But this guy his son's in the Air Force. He's got a good pedigree. Mm-hmm. His wife comes from a law enforcement background. Mm-hmm. He's just very, very honorable. Mm-hmm. And that mm-hmm. carries a lot of credibility for me. Mm-hmm. As a rule of thumb, bail bond agents, primarily because of the dog,
mm-hmm.
very few have very much credibility with. Mm-hmm.
Well, because again, you watch a TV show and think that's what it really is, and that's why you want to get in and you try to mimic that, and that's not really what it is.
It's not. I mean, this dog guy that doesn't even have his show anymore, he went into Mexico and got his ass arrested and put in jail there because he violated Mexican law. And then when you go into the dog guy, even the things he had on television, most of them were actually misdemeanors. He was loaded up like he was going to invade Afghanistan.
Yeah. Again, for the show. So mainly what you do is that you will invest in yourself and go to schools like Brandon's and do online stuff and ask questions. And by the way, I want to emphasize this. You know what? I see a lot of people. I hate to say this. There's no stupid question. But sometimes people should be careful what they put into the groups when they're asking questions. I think it's better what you do. Sometimes you want to message someone to ask some of those questions. You know, because we're all in a business.
A private message.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend of mine in California that's a retired U.S. Marshal. Okay? And he helped me out with a pedophile that I was working in Costa Rica. And we did it through Facebook, but we did it through private messages.
Yes.
Okay? And if it were not for him, I don't know if I could have done what I did with this pedophile in Haka. But we did it through private messages. You don't do it on these boards on Facebook.
Yeah, first you don't know who's on the board. And second, you know what, man? Sometimes I look at some of the things people are saying. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I would ever work with that guy or refer a case to him because of some of the things that they, you know, because everybody don't have the same training. Some people don't have any training. And some people might have gone through one of those 1 week schools and really didn't learn how to do an investigation. I know that they're looking for advice, but it's scary what I see on some of the boards sometimes.
You're absolutely right. If I see somebody that's worked an interesting case, you know, I'll send them a private message. And I get many send me private messages and even offer to, hey, you know, let me kick you $50 or $100 for, you know, doing this for me. I'm like, hey, one of these days, you know, I'll have to come to you and, you know, because sometimes it's not just the money. You know, I firmly believe that 80% of the private investigators out there are doing this in part trying to get the next reality TV show.
You think so?
Yeah, I do it. I see it. I see their posts. I see, you know.
Well, Doug, I often comment, Doug, a lot of the folks I see in the groups that are protective service and executive protection, they forget that we are serving the client. It seems like they want to be the celebrity these days. You know, you sit them in front of their airplanes and their hot cars and all that. They want to be the celebrity now instead of, you know, protecting the celebrity.
And their hand on their gun when they don't need to.
Yep.
You know, standing there with the pose.
Yep.
You know, it's these cliches that I don't think it makes our profession look good.
Agree.
But again, that's only my opinion, and I'm probably incorrect.
Well, we all have our opinions, right? It's okay.
Yeah. You know, I think the best personal protection, and we do this in Costa Rica, is the one that's not obvious.
Yep.
Okay? Because if somebody really wants to tap or grab the principal, they know where their protection is at.
And who you think I'm taking out first? Who you think I'm going to take out first?
Right.
Yes.
That's right. We try to stay extremely low key, always within distance to do what we have to do. But we never, you know, outdress somebody. We never stand out like a shit house in the fog.
Oh, yeah. In one of my other interviews, I said that you almost shouldn't even know who the protective service people are.
In my opinion, that's correct. Okay? If everybody is running around in blue jeans and an Oxford shirt or a funny Hawaiian shirt or something, that's what we're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to show up with shiny shoes, a sports coat, and, blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah.
Mm-hmm.
We can show up with a backpack like everybody else has got
Mm-hmm.
and have our gun in the backpack.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's my opinion.
So, Doug, looking back, what's one thing you wish you had known when you began this career? Now, you said you started with law firms. I'm not sure how you ended up in this career saying, hey, I want to be an investigator for law firms. So,
originally, I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
I got my degree in business law.
Mm-hmm.
I got an opportunity to intern for a very big, very prestigious law firm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One day he just hands me some paperwork and he says, go out and look over this accident report that the police did.
Mm-hmm.
Redo the measurements, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, and I found out that the police put down some incorrect measurements
Mm-hmm.
that made a lot to do with the case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then another thing, he sent me out. He says, a house just exploded.
Wow.
And it killed an old lady and set 2 little girls on fire.
Wow.
And they're in the burn ward
Mm-hmm.
at this hospital. I want you to check out the house, get the reports, and then I want you to fly down and interview these 2 little girls in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and then farther I got into it, I figured out that there was negligence on behalf of the propane company that had delivered the propane,
Mm-hmm.
and figured out that there had to be a defective thermocoupler in the house that caused the raw propane to go into the house. The lady hit the light switch.
Wow.
It blew the house up.
Mm-hmm. So basically, he was turning you into a private investigator without you even knowing it.
Yeah, the attorney, he told me, he says, Doug, he called me in his office one day, and we all make mistakes, and I got in there and I was like, okay, here comes an ass chewing.
Mm-hmm.
I've offended somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And this attorney sent me down. He says, Doug, he says, you're an anal retentive son of a bitch. He says, I think that you ought to look at becoming a PI.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing at that point, I'm going, way back,
Mm-hmm.
way back before computers and everything. And all I ever knew about PIs really were what I saw on television.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, okay,
Mm-hmm.
What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I just want you to do what I'm going to ask you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And with his connections and stuff, he had connections to about every federal investigation school that there was.
Mm-hmm.
And he paid for it and sent me off to him.
Wow. That was nice.
And paid my salary, paid everything.
Wow.
From arson investigations to driving school.
Wow.
To you name it.
That was nice.
Okay. And that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. So you any regrets of not going on and becoming a lawyer versus the PI?
And no, I don't think so, because I've been able, I think in my heart and soul of souls,
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been able to help more people
Mm-hmm.
as a private investigator than I could have as an attorney.
That's interesting.
Because I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've been asked because of it to set in and help and conduct a number of depositions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I love doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I love setting traps for people in depositions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you get to do the fun part of being an attorney without doing all the paperwork stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I've made people cry during a deposition.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat there and made people come up with a stutter
Mm-hmm.
that they never had because
Mm-hmm.
I set traps for them.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the answer to the questions before I asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask the same question about 4 times in 4 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And people didn't know I was doing it to them until I snapped the trap.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden the insurance companies would want to start playing Let's Make a Deal.
So let's go back to my question then. What's one thing you wish you had known then when you began your career?
I really don't think there is.
Mm-hmm. So things have gone pretty much the way you would have liked them, especially with that training and everything you got, and progressed the way you've liked it. So here's the thing then. Since there's nothing, what advice would you give to somebody wanted to enter the profession now, 2021, this age of technology and texting and all that kind of stuff? What advice would you give somebody wanting to enter?
I honestly think the best thing for a starting out PI
mm-hmm.
is go to your local attorneys
Mm-hmm.
and do some work for the attorneys.
Even if it's for free, like internship or something, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It will help in critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It will help you see the other side, the flip side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it will help you be a better advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think we as private investigators, we should be advocates.
Yes.
I mean, think about this. On the prosecutorial side, on the state side or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
they have access to all the police officers. Mm-hmm. Okay. They have access inside the prosecutor's office
Mm-hmm.
of a detective force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The average Joe Blow, the average anyone that gets arrested, the deck is stacked so hard against them
Mm-hmm.
that they don't stand a snowball's chance in hell
Yep.
of getting a fair shake.
Yep.
Okay? And we as PIs, we have a unique opportunity to give this defendant
Mm-hmm.
a fair shake,
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity.
Yep.
Because for one Joe Schmuckatella
Mm-hmm.
that's barely got enough money to pay for a legal defense
Mm-hmm.
to try to lock horns with police officers, investigators, prosecutors, and they aren't there to find out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're there to prosecute.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, because it's political.
Okay?
They don't want to be a prosecutor forever. They want to be a judge. They want to set their ass in Washington.
Exactly.
And the only way they get it is a high prosecution rate.
Yes.
And if it's an average street cop, he wants to be the one that pulls the rabbit out of the hat to, get a conviction on this guy so he can be a detective. And if he's a detective, there's this food chain that goes on. They don't, I make no apology. They don't care if they got the right guy or the wrong guy.
And Doug, that makes makes a lot of sense. I always say as a federal agent, my job was to prove or disprove allegation. But I know most cops want to prove because they want to have, just like a lawyer, they want to have success so they can go and be detective, lieutenant, sergeant, police chief. And we don't get that. Yeah, we don't get that by disproving. We get that by closing cases. Yeah.
They get no accolade for Cop of the Year for 8 cases that they disprove.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. And I understand they got to feed their families. They, they're put in to a bad situation.
Yep.
Okay. And they're the street cops are going through a real bad time right now. And I try to tell people most of the cops are really, really good people. Not good people. My opinion is the only thing wrong with the police right now is the police are not policing the police.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
If they see somebody doing something that they know is morally reprehensible, that they know is violating policy, whatever it is, be it a chokehold, be it manhandling, be it tasing a 13-year-old little girl in the back seat of a cop car because she's scared and having a temper tantrum, you stop your brother police officer and say, hey, chill out a little bit here, folks.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. I don't think I just interviewed a guy, and he said the same thing. None of us will stand by and watch while that's happening. I have too much integrity for that and belief in what I do that there's no way I will not pull you off that guy's neck or off that kid or whatever it may be. And let me tell you, Doug, even the name of my company, I call myself the Intercessors Investigative Group. And you said advocate. Intercessor means one who intercedes for another. I look at myself as the advocate for people who don't have all those police officers and federal agents and all that on their side. Somebody got to go to bat for them. And I want that to be me.
So I try to tell other brother PIs and stuff on boards that I'm an advocate PI. And their lights don't come on. But like our civil stuff, our personal injury cases and stuff like this that I've worked, I've been fortunate to be part of multi-million-dollar lawsuits, okay, for our clients. Not the hot coffee at McDonald's lawsuits, but the children that got set on fire. Their college education will be paid for the rest of their lives, okay? Now, that won't make up for the burn marks all over them and the nightmares that they'll have, but things of that nature I'm very, very proud of.
Great.
Okay? Oil wells catching on fire and the guys happen to get on a Geronimo line and come sliding off a Geronimo line while they're on fire and hearing the description of watching this burning body coming down a Geronimo line. And I go out and investigate it and have these oil companies pissed off and threatening sending, in one case, some beaters over that tuned me up one time real bad.
Wow.
To try to get me off the case. But I was proud of it. Sure. They tuned me up good.
So I want to ask you that because you answered one of my questions, and for time's sake, I want to ask you this. But I was going to ask you, what are you most proud of in your career? But it sounded like you had quite a few proud moments in your career that actually made a difference in your clients and people's lives. I want to ask you this question, though. I ask everybody this: what do you think was the biggest failure in your career, and what did you learn from that failure, if any?
Failure. I want to call it a mistake.
You can call it that, a mistake, yes.
Okay. I got a case from the state of Washington, a workman's compensation case, to investigate a guy that was getting over $3,000 a month for what he claimed was a bad foot. Okay. And I knew the reputation of this guy in Costa Rica. Everyone told me, avoid this guy like the plague. He's crazier than batshit. Okay? But I took the case anyway. Okay, it paid well. We found out that, and got a picture of, because it was in a newspaper, that this guy that had this bad right foot, supposedly, we caught him fighting bulls in a little town called Zapote, Costa Rica.
It sounded
So
like
he
workman's
had
comp.
a bad right foot, but it was good enough that he could run from bulls.
Yes.
Okay. And he found out that I was the investigator that did this.
Mm-hmm.
He turned into being the biggest stalker that you could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed my life.
Wow.
I mean, there's a bench warrant out for him in Oregon because he went after a PI that was a friend of mine in Oregon and made her life absolute hell.
Wow.
There's a bench warrant out for him in Pennsylvania for doing the same thing. And I should have heeded the advice from everybody that knew him. And when he came across the desk, I should have just told the state of Washington, yes, we know him, or we know of him, okay, but we're not touching this one.
So I guess we can't take all cases.
Yeah, I should have just washed my hands and said, you know, I mean, it paid well. I mean, God knows, I made about $8,000 or $9,000. But it damn sure wasn't worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Doug, you know what? This has been very interesting. I love your stories. I can go on for hours listening to your stories, and we've talked a couple of times before. So, but you know what? I think that people are going to find this very interesting, especially people coming into this field, and especially people interested in hearing about how this is done overseas. You know, some of the groups have people from Africa and other countries, but I had never spoken to somebody, especially from America, trying to make a go in this field in particular overseas. So I want to really thank you for coming to my blue table today. You know, and this doesn't end here, Doug. I mean, you're part of my network, so if you need anything, and I will pick your brain and things like that.
You and your listeners, or whatever the case may be, however you want to however you want to phrase it. I'm always open. As far as if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Okay, I don't have this ego that says, you know, I mean, God knows I'm here to help. And my door is always open to you, buddy.
Thank you.
I give you my word of honor.
I appreciate that.
If you ever have any questions or have any problems, I'm here.
And I got a couple on a case right now, so I'm going to be reaching out to you in just a little bit. But so with that being said, how can people connect with you online or any way to ask you a question? Facebook or email, any way you have?
My website is willspy.com. All one word.
Okay.
Okay. You obviously have me here on Facebook. And then I have a Facebook page, Costa Rica Private Investigator.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these down beneath the video as well so people can just be able to click on it. So Costa Rica Investigator. All right. All right, man. So thank you.
As far as Facebook goes, yeah.
Okay. Thanks again, Doug. I really appreciate it. I do have another interview, so I'm going to end ours. But, man, I really appreciate it. And I'm going to be reaching out to you soon.
Okay. Vaya con Dios.
All right, man. You have a great day, too. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for this video, folks. If you want to learn more about private investigation or become a private investigator, check out my private investigator career course at privateinvestigationsacademy.com. It is jam-packed with 35 lessons on everything you need to possibly know to be a private investigator. And by the way, when you get my course, you also get a free vacation to one of 51 available locations, and I have a 3-payment plan available. So again, check out my PI career course at privateinvestigationsacademy.com. I'll see you on the next video.